So in this video, we're going to be talking about average rate of change. And essentially what that means is, what is the slope if I were to draw a line between the 2 points that are given? So if I'm talking about the average rate of change, and it gives me 2 points, right? So let's use x values as x-axis. So if I say, what's the average rate of change from, let's see, our last point shows up at 5. So let's say, what's the average rate of change from 0 to 5? Well, at 0, I'm at 1. So my x coordinate is 0, my y coordinate is 1. At 5, I'm up here at 32. So at 5, I'm at 32. So what's the change in my y's? Change in y's is equal to 31. I went from 1 to 32. What's my change in my x's? My change in my x's is from 0 to 5, which is a change of 5. So now I can create my slope with the change in y over the change in x. We call this rise over run. And that is 31 divided by 5. When I simplify that, I will get some sort of rate of change. 5 goes into 30 6 times, and there's 1 left over, so 6.5 times. 6.5 times will give me 31 over 5, I think. Let me check my math. .2, that makes more sense. So 6.2 would be my average rate of change from 0 to 5. But let's do a different interval. So let's go ahead and use blue, and let's go from 0 to 3. Well, the interval from 0 to 3 means at 0, my x value is 0 and my y value is 1. And at 3, my x value is 3 and my y value is 8. So what's the change from 0 to 3? It's a change of 3. From 1 to 8, it's a change of 7. So I have a change of 7 over 3. And when I reduce that, I get a little over 2. So 2 point something, right? And if I was actually doing the problem, I'd do the math on a calculator. But that's the essential idea. Get the fraction, divide it. So now, let's do some comparisons. Let's use green. And let's say I've got an interval from 0 to 2. And I've got an interval from 2 to 4. And I'm curious, from 4 to 6, is that going to be bigger or smaller? So here we go. 0 to 2, my x values are 0. And then they're 2. And then my y value for 0 is 1. And my y value for 2 is 4. So I've changed 3 here. I've changed 2 here. That's 3/2, which is the same thing as 1.5. So from 0 to 2, I have 1.5. Then let's go 2 to 4. So when my x value is 2 and my x value is 2 and 4, my y value for 2 is 4 and my y value for 4 is 16. So I've made an increase of 8 and I've made an increase of 2. So that is 8 over 2, which is 4. So which one's greater? Well, going up by 4 is greater than going up by 1.5. So now it's going to ask us, what about the interval from when my x values are 4 to 6? So 4 to 6. Well, we know at 4 it's at 16. We actually don't have a point for 6 on here, right? 6 would be somewhere up here off the grid, right? But we do have a point for 5, right? So if we look at 5, 5 is at 32, so it's gone up by 16. This has only gone up 1, that's a slope of 16. So do you think the interval from 4 to 6 is going to be greater than these other intervals, less than these other intervals, or somewhere in between? Well, if we look at our line, it continues to get steeper. And the steeper it is, the faster it's growing. Well, from 4 to 6, do we think it's growing faster or slower than these other intervals? Well, it's getting more and more straight, so we think it's growing faster, which means that it is greater. It is getting greater. I know there's only one example. If I have time, I'll make another one. Good luck.